Do not open that app, whatever you do!
Why not? Is it gonna charge me?
Darwin's game, also referred to as D-game, forces ordinary people to participate in a constant struggle over points. With these points, a player is able to purchase various items like guns or grenades to assist their survival. Being forced into the game himself, Kaname has to figure out how to use his newfound power to survive in this death game. Episode 1. Welcome to Darwin's game, where we are introduced to a man running from an invisible man. Being tracked for every step the man runs, hoping there is some way out of his current situation. He mentions a game, scrolling through his phone, hoping to find some kind of solution. Knowing his last resort is to rely on his friends, the man passes on something to Kaname. He falls down on the road, knowing running won't help him decide to fight. Pulling out a knife, he sends projectiles flying towards the enemy's location, but comes up short, not landing a hit. Unable to deal any damage, the man is killed by the mysterious figure, leaving him with a game over. As he falls to the ground, a screen telling him, "You lose," appears. The perpetrator reveals themselves as a panda, bringing the question what that was all about. Kaname is approached by a friend updating him on the recent news. A mysterious body outline was found in a street in Shibuya, adding to the others that are appearing around Japan. A man approaches Kaname asking if he has seen the man from earlier arrive at school yet. Kaname, oblivious, tells him no, and the man seems like he's hiding something. Kaname looks at his phone and remembers the text. The man from earlier, Hamada, sent. Regarding a game called Darwin's game, Kaname clicks on the screen. Accepting entry into the game, he gets bit by a snake. He gets a notification alerting him his friend is dead, and he will have to take over his place. While this is happening, a girl appears over a pile of blood, receiving a notification of Kaname's entry into the game. Kaname awakes after being bitten by the snake and asks if he can head home. He holds his neck, and it reveals a barcode with a number. Kaname asks the nurse to go home, and he proceeds to fill out the form. Waiting outside the nurse's office, Kaname's friend asks him about the text Hamada sent him last night. Kaname's friend tells him not to use the app today, and that he'll explain everything later that night. Upon leaving the school, the nurse notices a second pen, identical to the one she lent Kaname. Kaname becomes curious about the app, eyeing it down while on the train. He remembers the snake that popped out at him, questioning whether it's really just a game. He falls into the temptation and opens the game, initiating a battle with the panda. He notices they have his name and a picture of him, raising suspicion. Kaname realizes his situation once he notices the panda man sitting across from him with a knife. Kaname reassures himself it's just a team's mascot, eventually building the courage to ask if he needs something. The panda, on the other hand, knows what he's doing and strikes Kaname. Rather than sitting idly, Kaname pushes the panda back, giving him a chance to make a run for it. Kaname runs far, but upon looking back, he notices the panda still on his tail. He pleads for help by calling out to the bystanders, but they think it's a prank. Kaname finally reaches the police station, but upon asking for help, the panda slices the policeman's head open. While Kaname is struggling to stay alive, his friend emerges, firing a crossbow at the panda. Unfortunately, Kaname's friend receives a fatal wound, getting stabbed in the stomach. Kaname urges him to run away with him and find help from someone. Before we continue, let's take a moment to answer the question of the day. Would you tell your friend to run so at least one of you lives, or would you try and fight back? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out in the next video. Now, back to the recap. The panda's eyes glow, initiating his sigil. Kaname's friend explains that the sigil is a power everyone is given once they start Darwin's game. The two arrive at a large building, giving them the perfect place to hide. Kaname watches as the panda wanders idly through the streets, having lost his prey. Kaname, sure that he can call for help, attempts to dial the police, but his call is blocked. While the panda is looking around, he sends a notification to Kaname, causing his phone to ring. He sits back down and turns off his ringer, sure that he is safe. Kaname realizes that everything that has been happening is because of the game. Someone named Shuka sends him a message, asking if he needs some help. The girl laughs while watching Kaname duel with the panda. The panda man eventually arrives on Kaname's floor, and his friend urges him to leave him behind. Kaname's friend tells him he is putting him in danger, as he is being tracked on his phone. He assures his friend he will end the game by defeating the panda. Kaname emerges in front of the panda, calling him names when he emerges. Kaname traces the panda away from his friend, Kyoda, giving him a chance to explain the sigils. A sigil is a power given once you start the game, Kyoda's being the ability to see the aura of any living thing. Right before the panda gets him, a car emerges, banging into the panda and knocking him to the ground. Kaname receives a result from his phone telling him he won the battle. The panda curses as he begins to disappear, block by block. Kaname asks him what Darwin's game is, but is unsatisfied when the panda tells him it's a game of killing. Kaname looks at the pixelated imprint, realizing all the imprints he's seen are deaths. As he goes back to retrieve Kyoda, he is shocked to learn that his friend has perished alongside the panda man. Right when he discovers this, he receives a text from Kyoda telling him to survive. The girl, Shuka, looks at her phone, seeing that Kaname bested the rookie killer, Panda. Kaname's phone receives multiple messages, alerting him of gained points for winning a ranked match. Appearing before him is a gacha, telling him upon receiving 40 points, he can get a spin. He uses his free spin and receives a pistol. To his surprise, it arrives at his door instantly, giving him hope of clearing the game. On the other hand, a man named Ace is questioning his prey, but the man before him freezes upon realizing all his companions are dead. The man reaches into his pocket, gesturing he has a weapon, but is stopped immediately by a strange force. His fingers and head become sliced up, revealing Ace has a strong sigil himself. His underling celebrates, calling Ace the king of Shibuya. Having taken down these enemies, Shuka walks through the streets, taking pictures of players who suffered much like Kyoda. Kaname pulls up to the location texted to him by Shuka, but proceeds with caution, knowing she's another player. He receives another text telling him if he wants help, he needs to continue into the warehouse. Upon arriving, he is greeted by a voice but no person. He looks around until a cute girl emerges, startling him for not knowing where she came from. He asks if she is the player Shuka, to which she tells him she'll help if he proves himself. Before they start the test, she allows Kaname to ask one question. Kaname asks her how he can get out of the game, and she tells him the only way is to die. She offers to kill him if he wants to leave, but he refuses. He realizes that the only way to survive is to win his battles by fighting. She tells him the only way to win the game is to kill their opponent. Shuka asks Kaname to demonstrate his sigil so she knows she can trust him. Kaname, still unsure of what a sigil is, asks Shuka what the sigil is. Shuka explains it as a form of evolution given to them once bitten by the snake. Shuka explains the sigil as second nature, saying he should be able to use it if he tries. Shuka tells Kaname his sigil's name should be in his phone, but it reads an error. Without knowledge of his sigil, Shuka decides not to team up with him, knowing she can't trust him. Kaname reveals within his backpack are multiple weapons he spent his savings on. Upon telling her this, Shuka tells him he needs to kill him, initiating the Darwin's game. Kaname strikes first, sending a flashbang her way, giving him time to run. While he runs towards the door, Shuka sends a chain flying towards him. Kaname realizes she is way too strong, so he continues to look around the warehouse for an exit. Shuka lights up the entire warehouse, having full control of the electricals. While Kaname attempts to escape, Shuka flies towards him with her chains, telling him there's nowhere to run. Kaname continues to plead with her, begging for her mercy, but she doesn't budge. Kaname attempts to pull out a weapon, but it's pierced by her chain. Shuka reveals this is Kaname's last chance to show her his sigil. Kaname, still unsure what a sigil is, runs hoping to outspeed the chain. He realizes that even if he dodges this chain, he will only be attacked again. Right before Kaname gives up hope, he realizes the whole situation is a load of crap. He tells himself if only he had a weapon he could fight back, causing his sigil to activate. He summons a gun and barely misses his chance to take down Shuka. Kaname realizes he just used his sigil and asks Shuka to truce now, knowing what it is. While waiting for her response, he is attacked by an incoming chain, grazing his shoulder. Kaname continues to run while being attacked, screaming for Shuka to cease fire. Kaname recognizes he has nowhere to run, so he decides to fight back. He remembers summoning the first weapon and attempts to summon another one to fit his needs. He realizes all he needs is more confidence, so he attempts to use his sigil confidently and succeeds. Kaname rushes towards her and strikes her with an electric pole, immobilizing her. Now on the ground, Kaname summons a gun, telling her the fight is over. He tells her to cancel the game, hoping she won't suffer the same fate as others who lost the game. She tells him that she has points saved, so she won't die. With no way to fight back, Shuka surrendered to Kaname and admired his strength. Kaname faints from the pressure, giving him a lucky moment between her chest. Observing behind her screen, a girl watches Kaname, recording his achievements, beating not only the rookie hunter, but the undefeated queen as well. She chuckles to herself, knowing Kaname's information will fetch a high price. When Kaname awakes, he is greeted by Shuka's divine beauty. She moves closer to him, asking for a favor, starting a family. Episode 2. Kaname asks why Shuka is naked, while blushing from her figure. She tells him if she wore clothes, they would get wrinkled, hence her nudity. Kaname asks about making a family with her, and she tells him she wishes to create a clan within Darwin's game. Unable to continue dealing with her teasing, Kaname urges her to get dressed. Shuka explains to Kaname that if he uses a shelter item, then other players can't start a match with him. She tells him it costs 10 points for 1 week, to which he freaks out, knowing he only has 40. Shuka tells him to check it again, having bested her. Upon checking it again, he has accumulated over 600 points, giving him enough to shelter up for a while. He goes to the convenience store to check how much money 10 points converts into. He checks his balance, and it appears to have increased by 1 million yen. Kaname curses at his phone after receiving a notification from the game. In a fight between players, a woman emerges victorious, having to only hit him 1 time. The man asks if she was the one who murdered the 12 people in Shibuya. She stays anonymous, not saying a word, giving the man to come to his own conclusion. He gets back up and asks her if she's interested in joining his clan. Kaname meets up with Shuka to embark on their first date. While Kaname is shopping, another man walks down the street asking his informant for information on Kaname. She assures the man Kaname will be in Shibuya and just to look around if he wants to find him. She asks the man about the information he received regarding the event. The notification Kaname received earlier was actually a treasure hunt. Kaname realizes that their quote-unquote investigation is really just Shuka shopping. He stands on the wall awaiting Shuka to finish changing, until he is approached by the man from earlier. The man snags his phone and tells him to follow him if he wants it back. Kaname willingly follows him, but continues to press him into giving his phone back. He realizes the power that this mystery man holds, having access to Kaname's account. He leads him to an ally, eventually telling him this is far enough. Kaname continues to ask him for his phone back, until the man refers to Kaname's feats. Having defeated 2 famous players, Kaname has gained a name for himself. He explains how powerful Shuka is, being one of few A-class players and having never lost a duel. The man throws his phone back, but not without initiating a game on him. Kaname, being inexperienced in fighting, goes down to a single blow from the man. Shuka leaves the changing room and receives a call incoming from the informant. She informs him about a man named Wang, him having never let an opponent escape from his grasp, limiting the information around him. Shuka tells the informant if she succeeds in giving the correct information, she'll triple the price. Right before she hangs up, the informant alerts Shuka of Kaname's current situation. Kaname still lays on the ground, this time not showing hesitation, pulling out a stun gun. The man continues to display his skills until he is stopped by Kaname threatening his phone with a stun gun. Right before the man can strike back, he is pushed back by Shuka. Kaname thanks her for saving him, and the man realizes he is at a disadvantage. He admits defeat, knowing there's no chance for his victory. The man introduces himself as Inuka. Kaname receives a text from the event telling him there is only 1 minute remaining until it begins. Shuka calls Inuka stupid for going after Kaname when an event is about to start. They talk about what the event could entail but are stopped when they are forcefully teleported away. Shuka and Inuka assure Kaname that they will help him and tell him not to lose hope. Everyone gets teleported to a separate location, including the informant noticing the brutality of the game. The treasure hunt includes finding rings hidden around the map, limiting the number of players who can emerge victorious. Wang, the man from before who was regarded as one of the strongest players, is suddenly attacked by a girl. She lights him a fire but is somehow knocked off the building, ending the game for her. Episode 3. Shuka arrives at her spot, but notices everyone around her suddenly decides to leave the area. As if a hypnosis spell was used on everyone, Shuka stands idly in the city ready to wreak havoc. Kaname observes the contents of the game until he receives a memo telling him the rules. With 24 hours to find the most gems and 300 other players, Kaname is in for a fight. With different values, each gem has a limited quantity. The last words of advice Kaname receives from the video says, if you don't get a certain number of gems, it's game over. Kaname attempts to call Shuka but is unable to, showing all service in the area is blocked. Kaname opens his map and is able to see the location of the various gems, telling him how many there are. Kaname uses his phone to look around and observe, and finds a bracelet containing a ruby gem below his bed. Right when Kaname walks out of his room, he encounters multiple players who suffered a game over. Kaname uses his scanner to see the rings around him, alerting him of the presence right below him. While Kaname waits for the elevator to come back up, he is approached by the informant from earlier. Kaname asks her what a kid is doing in this death game, urging her to hide. The girl introduces herself as Rain and proposes that the two of them team up. While the players duke it out in Shibuya, a group of people watch them from a screen. This secret society displays all of the various players, including Shuka, revealing she is in the lead currently. They review the tower, noticing it's entrapped and pointing out all of the deceased players. As they observe, a fight appears to break out between Shuka and 4 other players. They all fire their guns but are unable to land a hit on the flying Shuka. One of the perpetrators fires a crossbow while the other uses his sigil to increase its accuracy. However, that doesn't matter if he's dead. The spectators applaud Shuka's skills, one of them saying she is particularly interested in Shuka. 2 of the spectators discuss the benefits of the game, and the girl reveals her favorite part is the fighting. Kaname, now teamed up with Rain, discusses their plan, knowing all the exits are sealed. Kaname asks Rain how she can trust him, to which she reveals information about him. She knows about his fights and the fact that he has never killed a person before. Kaname asks Rain if the best option is to get their points and run, rather than fighting. Since kills don't give any additional points, Kaname becomes relaxed at the thought of being able to team with others. Rain reveals that the winner of a D game is decided based on not only how much damage they deal, but also the amount received. Rain applauds Kaname's ability to survive, saying even if he's not the strongest, he is lucky. She points out his ability to never give up being the reason why she wants to team up with him. Rain asks Kaname if he can generate a flamethrower, knowing he can do the same with a handgun. The 2 of them encounter more players who reach a game over. Seeing all of the dead players, they decide to proceed with caution, rather than rush in like other players. Rain reveals the player controlling the plants goes by, the florist. Episode 4. Rain reveals how she became a player of Darwin's game, getting a sigil that moment. She reveals her sigil as the ability of foresight, saving her friend from an incoming truck. Konami proceeds through the building with caution, destroying every camera in the process. The florist decides to send out his minions in a strategic way, clearing every hallway and stairway. Konami and Rain hide in one of the rooms and are able to evade the incoming players. Rain tells Konami that their current plan only has a 40% chance of succeeding. While Konami and Rain discuss their plans, the florist questions how they escaped his grasp. The florist realizes they are hiding in a room, and he sends in all of his minions to investigate the highest probability. He sends his soldiers into one of the rooms, but is stunned to learn they are in a stairway. Rain, on the other hand, is able to immobilize the incoming players. Rain reveals all of her items, including the flashbang were purchased from the game store. Rain tells Konami that her sigil was the old sigil of a demon named Laplace. Rain continues to lead the controlled players on a wild goose hunt until they arrive at her location in a restaurant. Rain gets forced to hide but counterattacks, utilizing her ability to evade the incoming shots. The florist questions where Konami is and wonders why he sent Rain to fight alone. Suddenly, Konami emerges on the first floor ready to disrupt the florist's plans. Konami reveals he escaped by using a rope to swing down a few floors, then kicking into the window. Konami is approached by the florist, telling him to put his weapon down. The florist asks Konami to talk before they engage in battle, knowing one of them will die. He asks Konami why he is playing the game and explains his reason: money. Surrounded with plants, the florist prepares to take down Konami, but is hit by a bomb. Konami dodges his incoming attack and uses his sigil to summon the rifle used by the previous player. The florist uses his power to knock the weapon out of Konami's hands, but he simply summons another one. Although Konami has control of his sigil, excessive use makes his body fatigued. Konami draws the florist in and uses a flashbang to escape. Unable to move as fast as the florist, he is caught up to and slammed into the wall. Konami, on the verge of giving up, lowers his head, admitting defeat. Before he can be logged out, the mind inside, his head tells him not to give up, urging him to continue fighting. Konami awakes in a blacksmithing room with dead eyes until the man tells him the summoned weapons are forged by him. Konami tells the blacksmith he needs better armor and artillery if he wants to win. The blacksmith convinces Konami to forge the weapon to his needs, increasing the power. Konami comes back to reality as if a second hasn't passed and claims the fight isn't over just yet. Konami summons a new type of ammunition and pushes the florist back. The florist dashes towards Konami in a last attempt to win but stops after thinking about his daughter. Konami asks the man if he is afraid to die, asking if he has anything to live for. Konami decides to spare the florist, knowing if he can bring him on his side, it would be more beneficial. Rain decides to offer the florist a truce, promising to spare his life if he agrees. Rain tells the others that a majority of the existing rings have already been taken by the stronger players within the game. She proposes once again a truce to the florist, knowing just her and Konami won't be enough to survive. Konami and the others approach the player who first attempted to kill him, offering to team up with him. Konami tells him that if they don't team up, they will stand no chance against Wong and his goons. The man refuses to team up with them because of the florist's past influence. The florist mentions the 8th clan to Rain, and the player runs back, telling them he will join their team. While most people are panicking or hiding, Wang sits in a building relaxed, holding 34 rings. Him and his group decide to stay still until night falls and take all the rings during that time. Wang announces his next location will be the hotel, it being the location with the most rings. Konami and the others watch as the player removes his helmet, revealing a familiar appearance. The 4 of them devise their plan, knowing Wang and his squad will come to their base eventually. Konami decides to share the rings with the others despite overpowering all of them. Rain notices that certain stones are priced higher than stones that should be priced higher. She compares lapis, a pretty common gem, to topaz, showing the lapis is worth more points. They talk among each other, attempting to find how to win the game. The now unmasked player tells the others before they attempt to find out how to win, they should worry about Wang's group. Shuka sends a message to Kaname requesting help while drowning in the subway station. Before Shuka was drowning, she noticed something was up with the station, but proceeded anyway. She eventually reaches another player who stops her chains using an ice wall. Shuka comes closer, throwing a drill instead of her chains, but is unsuccessful yet again. She is eventually entrapped in the station by this water user, leading us back to the present. Kaname tells the others that he should go alone, knowing the road ahead will be dangerous. The others tell Kaname they will help. But Rain is hesitant, knowing if they are stronger than Shuka, they are stronger than them. She attempts to convince them not to all charge in, but she fails. The men walk to Shuka's location without showing much hustle. Upon arriving at her location, Kaname uses his sigil to summon a rifle for self-defense. The two of them sneak around the location until the player reveals his sigil. With the ability to tell a truth from a lie, his sigil doesn't provide much use in combat. Rain stands atop a roof, contemplating what the true goal of the event could be, until she notices a barcode on the ring. They scan the ring, and it reveals numbers different to all the others. With fractions and identical numbers, they are unable to figure out what these numbers mean. Kaname and the other player continue to wander around the vicinity, hoping to find Shuka. Kaname and the player notice a person following them and tell her to unveil herself. She emerges from behind a pillar, claiming she doesn't want to fight. Kaname decides to ignore the girl, but she stops them, urging them not to go into the subway because it's dangerous. The two arrive at the subway station but realize the entire thing is flooded. Kaname tells his companion he is going to swim into the station and save Shuka, leaving him behind. With Kaname gone, the girl reveals she is the water user that flooded the station, and she flees with Kaname's rings. Shuka runs out of strength and drops from the sign, causing her to sink to the bottom of the station. As she is sinking, she wonders whether Kaname will be saddened by her death.